Hey guys, welcome to Wednesday. Today we're going to, for dinner, we're actually going to do lunch. Now you'll see this at dinner time, but I'm making lunch. It's just me and Chris, and we're going to try out a couple new recipes. Thought I'd bring you along for the ride. We're going to do a roasted garlic tomato soup. I know it sounds very fancy. It's not. I'm looking at the recipe list right here in my high definition, ultra green recipe cards, because you can't find just normal recipe cards. You got to have really cool colors. But anyhow, we're doing a roasted garlic and tomato soup, and we're going to do a parmesan encrusted baked chicken. That actually, the whole lunch sounds really fancy, but I don't, looking at the ingredients list, looks flavorful, but not horribly fancy. None of this is really hard. This soup might take like 15 minutes to make. But we get to use the powerful new Ninja blender that we picked up this last week. And it's the Ninja 1000 Professional Series blender if you're interested in buying one. They are a little more on the expensive end. They're not the most expensive blender at any rate. And I think the going rate for that one, at the time of the making of this video, because that's what you're supposed to say, I guess, was $87 for that blender. Once again, get what you can afford. We do a lot of blending. We've been using the processor for that. I've been making a lot of smoothies, juices, fresh berry juices, things like that, and I wanted a blender that could handle it. The difference between a high-powered blender and a low-powered blender is time. And how it's made, but most of it's time. Lower speed blenders, this one is called the Ninja 1000 because this blade in here, which in itself looks like something out of a ninja movie, runs about 1,000, well, it doesn't run about, it does, 1,000 turns a minute. That makes it a higher speed, more powerful blend. Gets things a little smoother, quicker. More affordable, cheaper ones, like a good startup one, might run you half that price, but it may only turn like 700 times a minute. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to look at different blenders. But that's what we got. All right, so we're going to start with the tomato soup. We're going to do both things in this video today, the tomato soup and the chicken. And as long as I don't talk a whole lot and get off track, we'll be okay with what we're doing. So the ingredients list is as follows. 1 28-ounce can of whole tomatoes, 28-ounce can. It's the bigger cans. Use what you have available, but make sure they're whole tomatoes. Excuse me. Jeez, a pee. Next thing we need is 4 roasted garlic cloves. We have 4 roasted garlic cloves right there. How did I roast them, you ask? Glad you asked, because I'm going to tell you. I took a small frying pan, this small frying pan right here, number 3, and I put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in it and put it on medium-high heat and put them in there for about all of 2 minutes aside, maybe, just so they get that nice roasted golden brown color. You can also put them in the oven if you want to crank your oven up. If you do that, 350 degrees for about 5-10 minutes, and you should have lovely roasted garlic. I just find the pan quicker, easier, and now that it's starting to get warmer, it doesn't heat up the kitchen. Next thing we need is 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Once again, tomato paste of your choosing. You know, most of this stuff runs anywhere from 89 cents a can to $3 a can. Tomato paste runs 50 cents to $2. Now, here's one that, this is something kind of new to me. I'm not maybe a huge fan of, but it's in the ingredients list, and I'll explain why I'm not scared of it in this go around. You need 6 ounces, geez, OP, 6 ounces of tofu, silky tofu. Now, funny story about that, that's actually a firm tofu. My particular grocery store was out of silky tofu, so we're going to try it with something a little different. Next thing is 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Then we need a half a teaspoon of salt. Does anybody remember offhand what that is in grams from baking? It'd be 2 grams. A full table teaspoon is 4 grams. The next thing we need is black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon, and 1 cup of veggie broth. And the last thing we need, I don't have out yet because I don't have any, which is fresh basil. And it calls for 1 tablespoon of fresh basil chopped. I am going to use dried basil only because I went to 3 stores, could not find fresh basil anywhere, which is okay. So if you're not going to use fresh basil and you're going to use dried basil, only use about 1/2 tablespoon. You could probably even go as low as 1/4 tablespoon, but I'm going to go 1/2. Fresh is always more potent than dried. And dry still holds a kick, and we can get away with this because we're putting it in it to cook it. Cooking it, especially since we're putting oil in it, releases the flavors. All right, so that is our ingredients list. I'm telling you, this is incredibly easy. The only thing we have to do now is blend. So we're going to start by putting our tofu in the blender. Down in there. Cutting it up into pieces will probably help. All right, so something I learned today from Chris, because I didn't know, because he asked me how much I cook with tofu. Never, but that's okay. I'm always willing to learn. Dry your tofu with you can put it on in between some paper towels, put a couple plates on it, and give it a good press. It'll squeeze out because it comes in water to keep it fresh. But you want to get that moisture out of it. At least that's what I've been told. So we're going to put that in. We're going to put in our cup of veggie broth. When you go to buy your veggie broth of your choice. I make my own, so I chose mine. But you can use anybody's veggie broth. But you're going to put those in there. And then it says we're going to run this on medium speed until smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. That's because we don't plug in our equipment until we go to use it. That way nobody accidentally comes by and turns it on for us or hurts themselves. That's rather important. So I'm going to go ahead and run this on medium. When it's smooth, I'll be right back. Okay, so that literally took all of like 30 seconds, but I didn't think you'd want to sit here and listen to this thing run. It is kind of loud. And I don't know how it's going to come across to you on this video. So I didn't want to try to talk over it because, like I said, in person it's very loud. All right, so we got the tofu blended and with the veggie broth, and it's smooth. Now by smooth, it just looks like water. So the next things we need to add is everything else. So we're going to go ahead and kick the lid off of there, and we're going to add in our tomatoes. Our garlic. Yeah, I love roasted garlic. Garlic is very good for you. This meal is actually very healthy. It's vegan friendly. It's vegetarian friendly. It's everybody friendly. This is an all-inclusive dish. So you can actually make this for anybody. This could be a meal. This could be a good fall time meal or a summer meal. All right, so we put our roasted garlic in there. Basically, we're going to put the rest of everything else in here. Our tomato paste is going to go in here because that's what we do. Okay, tomato paste, always a little recommendation when you're messing with tomato paste or anything sticky. Always put it just a hair more than what you need in your prep bowl, so that way you know you have enough going in, because there's always stuff that remains in the prep bowl. All right, so we go oil, salt, and pepper. All right, so I'm going to kick this bad boy back on, let it blend, reset the camera up, and we'll talk about what to do next. All right, I'll see you here in just 1 second. Okay, so sorry about that. I came back awfully close to you. Just caught that. So I apologize. So the next thing we're going to do, we got it mixed up, looking good. Not that you can really see that, but there we are, nice and blended. And all we have left to do is pour it into the pot. Gotta pour it into the pot. Let me bring it down just a hair so you can see. Yep, there we are on the pot. See how it's got, I mean, it's just got a nice, you know, it's kind of bright but not dark tomato look, and that's the tofu in it. So the only thing we got left to do is turn this on, and we're going to bring it up to a simmer. And while it's simmering, or on top of bringing it up to a simmer, we're going to put the basil in it. You know, and I used about a half a tablespoon of basil to put in it. That way we can warm it up and let the oil activate the basil while it goes. So we're just going to heat this up. This is all there is. It's just this. We have just made from scratch tomato soup. What we'll do is once it warms up here in about 15 minutes, at least that's what the directions say, is to let it warm for about 15 minutes. And I'm sure it's mostly to let A, warm it up so you can eat it, B, gives it a chance for those flavors to interact and get to know each other. So we're going to let that warm up. Was that not quick and easy? I think it was quick and easy. While that's warming up, I'm going to go ahead and get these dishes done and then get the stuff together and make the chicken parmesan. Like I said, it's a fairly simple dish. So when we come back, we'll taste the tomato soup and we'll start rolling on the chicken parm. All right, I'll see you in just 1 millisecond. So we're back. Did you miss me? I missed you, even though it's been like a millisecond for you. Like forever for me. It's just been crazy. All right, so we got the tomato soup done. It's sitting here on our stove's kind of cool. I guess it has a fifth element that just warms. So I'm keeping it warm. Thought we'd try this soup real quick. Well, me and Chris already tried it, but I'm here to tell you, you want an amazing, quick tomato soup recipe, this is the one for you. First of all, you can't taste the tofu. If you're not into tofu, you can't taste it, so it doesn't matter. What you can taste in this, though, is the basil. Since it got to sit in there and marinate with everything else, you can taste the salt, the pepper, yeah, just everything. You can't taste the oil or anything, but man, you can taste the tomatoes. So might I recommend when you buy your whole tomatoes, buy a tomato you like. This particular is Roma tomatoes. So they're a little thicker, a little meatier. There is our soup in all its fame and glory. And like I said earlier, this in and of itself is vegan friendly. It's vegetarian friendly. I'm telling you, that's some good tomato soup. And I don't say that, honestly, if I ever run across a recipe that we do together and I think it tastes like crap, I'm going to tell you it tastes like crap because I don't want you to waste your time making it. So far, I haven't done anything that tastes like crap. Now with the tomato soup, we did add a little more salt to it. It didn't have enough oomph to it or something. I don't know, but we added more salt to it. What salt ultimately does in cooking, if done properly and not over salted, boosts the flavors that are already in there. So, you know, it brings out the best of the tomato. It brings out the best of the olive oil and the garlic and all of that. You can taste everything in that soup that we put in it. We can taste the roasted garlic. We can taste the salt. We can taste the pepper. You know, all of that. So, the veggie stock, like I said, I don't know how it will taste with a boxed veggie stock or a powder or whatever. I can't imagine it would taste a whole lot different. But we make our own veggie stock, which I don't know if I have a video or not of it. I don't think I do, but if you're interested, I'll be more than happy to make one. Just let me know down in the comments because it's really simple, super easy. It's a good way to utilize your scraps from your vegetables instead of throwing them away. You get one addition out of it. You can make a veggie stock out of it and then take what's left from that veggie-wise and put it in your garden for compost, which will make your soil just that much better. And that's what we do with ours. And our flowers are always just top-notch amazing. And I don't say that because they're mine and it's me. I say it because it's true. All right, so anyhow, moving on. We're going to make a crusted Parmesan chicken. As always, bam, recipe. I wrote this one down because it's not tested yet on paper. I know the other one's on a thing, but it's a pretty much tried and true tomato. You can't screw up tomato soup, I don't think. But anyhow, if this one turns out good, we'll commit it to a card and put it on. So the first thing we need, 2 cups of breadcrumbs. Use any breadcrumb you like. Use panko if you wish. That's completely up to you. Half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. That's real Parmesan cheese, grated from a block of Parmesan cheese. We have found in the past, at least with Parmesan, even the bag Parmesan pre-shredded doesn't really have much flavor. So we buy almost all our stuff from the blocks. And depending on how much we use of it, depends on how much we spend on it. You need essentially a half a can or 3 ounces of French's fried onion. French fried onions. Doesn't have to be French's. It could be any whatever brand. French's is just the brand we bought. Next thing you need is 1 teaspoon of mustard powder. If you ever wondered how they make mustard, this is it. Add vinegar and a couple other things, and you got mustard. You need a half a cup or 1 stick of butter. You will need 2 cloves of garlic chopped up. 2 cloves of garlic chopped up. I actually chopped it this time instead of using my press. Why, I don't know. It just sounded fun. You need 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. There we are right there. And the last thing you need, which is the recipe in and of itself calls for 8 boneless chicken wings. Or boneless chicken wings. I'm sorry, it calls for 8 bone-in, skinless chicken breasts. I have 2 boneless chicken breasts. Now you're saying to yourself, Brian, why do you have that soaked in water? Well, I'm going to tell you why as I go dump it in the other sink. Hold on for me just 1 millisecond. Okay, so I'm back. So the reason why I had that sitting in the sink, and the other thing you will need is a pan to put it in. Now it calls for a 9x13 if you're doing 8 chicken breasts. I'm doing 2, although this is a complete recipe, so I will have lots of leftover batter. I'm only cooking 2, so I'm just using an 8x8 sheet or a 9x9 square pan with aluminum foil stuck in it. All right, so anyhow, back to progress. Why did I have the chicken in a bag of water? Well, the reason why I had that chicken in a bag of water, sorry, I'm getting a plate, is it was actually brine. It was salt water. And what it does is it tenderizes the chicken. And these are 2 huge pieces of chicken. I'm not going to lie. That is 1 monster chicken. That was well fed out on the farm. And as mentioned in a previous video, all our chicken and meats come from the butcher shop. We try to never buy, unless we absolutely, it's an emergency, which I can't think of a time where it would ever be an emergency. Try never to buy big farm chickens like Oscar Mayer, Tyson, all that, because of the way they treat their workers. I have a video on that if you want to check it out down the road. And then we got our chicken. Okay, so first thing we need to do is mix up our dry goods. All right, and our dry goods, let me get rid of this real quick. We don't need the bag of water. Our dry goods are our breadcrumbs. Let me move you down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Not that I know you want to look at my pretty face all the time, but we got work to get accomplished. All right, so we're going to take our 2 cups of breadcrumbs. We're going to put our Parmesan in there, our mustard in there, Man, that tomato soup was good. I'm here to tell you. Our French fried onions, and like I said, use any brand you want. I'm not sponsored by anybody. It's just me. And I prefer French's. I don't think I've ever had any other brand, but I'm sure there is store-bought brands and things like that. I'm sure you could probably even make your own. So and all we want to do is mix this up, kind of break up your French fried onions a little bit. If I'd have thought about it, I would have broken them up prior to putting them in here, but I didn't. So then we're going to, after we get this done, we're going to set this to the side and move over to the stove where we're going to do the next step. All right, hold on just 1 millisecond. I'm going to get you over to the stove and we'll continue this adventure. All right. Me too. All right, so here we are. Me and Chris were just talking about the fact that we are starving to death. So I'm trying to cook as quick as I can. All right, so I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning of us talking about ingredients and whatnot, but you want to preheat your oven, 350 degrees. That way it's ready to go, because we're going to put these in the oven. We're going to cook them for 30 minutes. Yeah, and like I said, this is kind of just like a fancy fried chicken. And probably not healthy because it calls for this much butter. But that's all right. That's all right. As long as you're living your best life, I guess, then that's my saying of the day, living your best life. I have a guy I follow on YouTube named Kent Rollins, and he's all the time talking about it's a good day to be above the grass. And I don't disagree with that, especially with all the things that have been going on in the world. All right, so we got to get this butter melted down. And once we get that melted down, and we'll go ahead and put some our other two ingredients in. Because all we're literally going to do is melt this butter down, put our garlic in it, put our Worcestershire sauce in it, and let it cook for a minute or two. That way we can get our wet for our chicken. So if you've never fried chicken before or made fried chicken before, you have the dry ingredients, which isn't a whole lot different than what we just did over there when we mixed our breadcrumbs and our French fried onions and all that good stuff together. And then now we're making the wet side, which in traditional fried chicken would be eggs, butter, a little bit of buttermilk, hot sauce, whatever, and always salt. When you're making fried chicken, every step should be salted. But this is no different. Same process. We're going to put the chicken into here, get it nice and wet with the butter and the Worcestershire sauce and the garlic. And then we're going to put it in the dry and cut it on both sides and then stick it in a pan to bake. That right there is the difference. All right, so we got that melted. We're going to put in our Worcestershire sauce and our garlic. So, and we're gonna let this go until the garlic turns slightly brown. Now, I probably could have done this in a bigger pan, but I didn't because we're gonna end up dumping it into a smaller pan to be able to dip our chicken in. Sorry, I got stuck on my thought. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to let this cook for about 3 or 4 minutes and let all that infuse together and make one beautiful sauce. And then when I come back, we will be back over at the counter dunking and breading. All right, see you in a second. Okay, we're back from the stove. What we did was I just I'm letting it not cool, but took it off the burner, set it on a hot plate over here. We're just making an assembly line. All right. This process is the exact same for frying chicken, or for doing fried chicken. So all we got to do is take our chicken. If you don't want to use your hand, you could definitely use a fork. And that chicken breast was so big that I ended up cutting it each piece in half. It was just very big. And then after that, after we put it in there, we're going to set it in we'll put it in our dry, and then set it in the pan. Oh, let's try putting it in the wet first. Then we'll put it back in the dry. All right, there's that. Like I said, so all in all, I think if I were to make this lunch again, I would do my chicken first and then make the tomato soup. The tomato soup takes all of about 15 minutes, and that's including its cook time. You know, because I literally just I had it on the oven long enough to warm up and for the flavors to meld together. And this chicken, so far, I mean, it's taking me a little longer now because we're talking, you know, and just like having any good company, you know, it distracts you a little. So I'm going to say you might, and then 30 minutes to cook. So while this is baking in the oven for 30 minutes, you can do your chicken, you can do your tomato sauce or soup, and that way it all comes out together. Although, I mean, if you've got an oven that has a warming spot on it, you could use it. Make your tomato soup first. I mean, right now, by me leaving it sit on that warmer to warm, all I'm doing is letting those flavors go together that much longer. Same way if you were making spaghetti sauce or a pizza sauce or anything like that, the longer you can set it to let it sit there and simmer and cook, the better off you are. I'm going to throw a little more breadcrumb on those because I can. All right. So here's what we're going to do. All right, this is the last step. You're asking to yourself, wow, it's a lot of leftover. And you're right, that is a lot of leftover. What am I going to do with it? Well, I have a couple options. I could throw it in the trash. One thing I can't do with it is save it and reuse it. I had raw chicken in both of them. Raw chicken, all raw chicken sold in the U.S. has salmonella, and you don't want that. So I'm going to throw that out in the garden and let the grass grow with it, or let the garden grow with it. That way, it'll break down naturally, and I'm not filling a landfill. So as far as the chicken goes, I'm going to go ahead and stick it in my oven. 350 degrees, which we should already had it. You should already have had it preheating. If you're not, that's fine too. It's not going to hurt that chicken to sit on the counter while it heats up, while the oven heats up. And you're going to cook it for about 30 minutes. Ovens vary, so watch it. You should have a temperature of 175 degrees. I do believe it is. It's either 165 or 175. So at 175, you're safe. The only thing that's above that is hamburger or ground sausage, and that's because they're ground meats, and that has to be at 180 degrees. So I'm going to put this in the oven for 30 minutes or until it reaches 170, 75-ish, and then pull it out. So when I come back, we'll give it a taste and see what it tastes like. All this new stuff today. It's kind of exciting. All right, I'll see you here in just a few. We let it cook. I actually let it cook for 40 minutes. My pieces were a little thick. You could always, even if you were doing 8 pieces, in reality, we could have hammered those down with a meat hammer and flattened them, and then probably gotten an easy 8 pieces out of 4, even maybe 3 pieces if they're huge. But I didn't. I wanted them thick, so that's the way we did it. And now I need to get a fork and a knife. We'll grab us a piece. Okay, so the temperature on chicken, just so I can clarify, because I know I seemed uncertain myself earlier, and I was, is it's 165 for chicken. It has to hit at least 165 degrees. Hamburger and sausage ground, those are 180. That I know to be true. So, here, let me show you before I cut it. There is what our chicken turned out like. Right there. It looks good. I think it looks good at any rate. So if it tastes half as good as it looks, we'll be in like Flint. And there is the chicken. It's so tender and juicy. It's just unbelievable. I don't know if you can see it on camera with the juice dripping off of it. Yeah, that's from soaking it in the brine. Okay. That's pretty good. Can definitely taste the Parmesan and the breadcrumbs and the butter and the roasted garlic. At least the flavors of it. Because we never actually, by chopping up the garlic the way we did, dicing it up instead of using the mincer, majority of it stayed in the pan after we were done. We were looking just for the flavor of the garlic. That's a good chicken. If I would have maybe tweaked anything on it, I would probably do a little more salt. Yeah, I would have probably, instead of, I don't even remember offhand what it called for. Oh, it called for no salt. I would add maybe an eighth to a quarter of a teaspoon of salt to the dry, or split it, do an eighth in the butter, or use a salted butter. We cook with unsalted butter. I would use the salted butter. I don't think the Worcestershire gives it enough salt to balance it. I would add a quarter of a teaspoon of salt to that. That's just my opinion. Try it this way first, hands down, because it's good. I mean, you can taste everything on it. As you saw, I have my bowl of tomato soup, and I'm ready to go for a lunch. So, try this recipe. Let me know what you think of it. Try both recipes. Let me know what you think of them. I think they turned out really good. They've got good flavor, good substance. It'd be a good, wholesome family meal all the way around. The tomato soup in and of itself would make a great afternoon lunch. It's quick, it's easy, and it's fresh. The only thing that was in that can of tomatoes was tomatoes. No additives. Everything else was fresh. I mean, there's no additives to it. Cooking from home, there's never any additives. Learned something today. Well, Chris was telling me about it. She learned of it. A majority of people who eat a lot of foods with preservatives and don't eat healthy or don't exercise a whole lot, they run a higher risk of getting cancer. And cancer is no joke. I know we've lost more than our fair share of family and friends to cancer over the years. So cooking for yourself, even if it is just for you, is good. Leftovers are amazing, and there's no preservatives. You control what's in it. So anyhow, that being said, use your oven. It's good for you. It'll keep you alive longer. I'm going to go and eat my chicken and my tomato soup and enjoy lunch with Chris. And I will see you tomorrow for a pineapple sunshine cake. Sorry, Chris had to holler, and I cannot remember the word sunshine with this cake to save my life. That'll be absolutely amazing. It's for Chris's birthday, which is tomorrow. All right. I love you guys. And tell somebody else you love them. It'll make their day a whole lot better. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.